Coming up next on AM Live, from fighting terrorists to flushing out poachers of the seas.
We're going to meet Marine warrior Scott Cassell in just 2 minutes.
Welcome back. Our next guest was a sniper in the U.S. Army National Guard, a role that got him involved in Operation Black Hawk Down in Somalia. That was back in the 1990s.
But now this soldier has turned Marine warrior, focusing on protecting the ocean environment.
And he has Sea Wolves, an organization that gathers evidence to bring poachers and polluters to justice.
And he also founded a non-profit organization, the Undersea Voyager Project, to explore the health of the ocean. So let's welcome Scott Cassell to our studios this morning. Welcome, Scott.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
So how did you end up this way? I mean, a soldier, you know, a Marine, and then now you're, you know, fighting a different kind of enemy, I guess.
Well, I actually think that the war that I'm fighting right now is probably the single most important thing I've done in my life. And it's all about the health of the oceans, which, as we know, is cascading into collapse. And we're entering into a new era. It's actually kind of an exciting era, even though it's kind of scary. Is that as you watch the oceans start to fail, you realize that we're in an era that science fiction writers have written about for hundreds of years.
Right.
The end point of mankind is in the vision of us now. We can see how we could get there. So what are we going to do about it?
So when did you, gain such insight into this? I mean, was there a pivotal turning moment when you go, aha, this is what I need to do?
Well, you know, people can in life behave badly all throughout the world. And I decide to look at the good values of human beings. And some of the finest people I've met are artists and scientists. And when you see their love for life and their passions that they dedicate to it, you realize that there's something bigger out there than just trying to save somebody else's ideals. And so you realize that the oceans supply between 50 and 75% of the Earth's oxygen, depending on which scientist that you talk to. And the collapse of that itself can suffocate everything that lives on terrestrial Earth. And I love kids. I love life. So I've decided to dedicate the rest of my life to finding out what's the facts about the ocean's condition and give that information away freely to the Earth, to the world population. And we've actually started to have some successes there.
Okay.
Well, yeah, tell us about some of those successes.
Yeah.
I mean, what you've discovered. I mean, you have an extraordinary list of stories to tell.
Well, I get bored easy, so I always got to stay busy, and sometimes that's out in crazy places. But you know, when you see some very high risk and high energy situations in your life, you realize that you get addicted to that.
Right.
And that can be bad. So what I do is I focus on how to focus my energies to generate something positive. And that usually means I'm either out in the wilds hunting poachers, or I'm in a submersible looking at something that nobody else has ever seen before. And I find that everywhere I look, I often find something that hasn't been seen before. And that's a very exciting thing, to realize that just some old army guy like me can do something where scientists haven't even been before. And that is an amazing motivator. So we've discovered a new species of life, which is a protist, which is a fungus, it's an algae, a plant, and an animal, all three wrapped up into one organism, one of the basic trees of life in an alpine lake. And in my submarine, when we discovered this, was a 15-year-old girl, one of our youth ambassadors. As I was teaching her to pilot the sub, she helped discover this species of life. So at 15 years old, she's hooked in science now.
Right.
And I see that as the future of mankind, because everybody my age and everybody older than me have pretty well destroyed the oceans and given us a big trash heap.
Right.
And the kids of tomorrow, the kids that are alive today, right now, these people are going to grow up to be the actual saviors of our oceans. And in exchange for that, they become the saviors of our human species.
Right.
And to me, that's an amazing motivator to keep me out there, getting kids in the water, hunting poachers, and
Definitely
doing
on
this
a
stuff.
mission.
They need to be aware first, and that's where you come in to educate them, because otherwise they don't know what's happening out there. But you're not, we have this term, what we call a NATO guy, no action, talk only, because you act on this. You've got people convicted. You know, you've got ocean terrorists, put them away. I mean, not yourself, but you've managed to reveal.
I'm not law enforcement. I can't go into somebody's country and say, I'm going to put you under arrest. That's a good way to get thrown in jail or killed. So what I do is I just collect evidence. I'm very good at sneaking around.
What kind of evidence?
Well, you know, to give you an idea of what I do, every month I either parachute in at night or I scuba dive in with combat rebreather into a poacher's camp. I go someplace where activity is happening, where they're killing sea lions or killing dolphins or killing endangered sharks or endangered fish, where these animals are about to collapse and go extinct, and they're protected by law. And I often do this in Mexico. And I sneak in right underneath the boats of the people that are causing these atrocities. And I climb out of the water at night, dressed like a bush, sneak into their poachers' camp, and I film them with thermal imagery and night vision, sometimes not moving for 2 days straight.
Wow.
And I film them doing terrible things to beautiful animals. And with that data, I sneak out, go back into the water, go a mile offshore, wait for my buddy to pick me up in the middle of the night, and then find my information's way to a district attorney's office where they do an investigation.
This is where you're different from other folks.
Exactly.
You know?
But it's brought along as well sort of surprises. In fact, you have a very good friendship, or you bonded with a great white shark, if I'm not wrong, and she's called Spots, but unfortunate incidents led to her death, right? I mean,
I had a 20-year love affair with this shark, and you know, when you see an animal that's 3,000 pounds and 15, 16 feet long, you have fear, you have admiration, and you have an amazing amount of like visual input. Like, this is an amazing creature. Her head was 4 feet thick. And over 20 years, I would see her every year. And I would come to know her with this particular spots on her face, that she was a very sweet animal. She never made an aggressive move, and I get further and further outside the cage until finally I left the cage altogether. And 3 years ago, I was actually helping with a BBC show where I was swimming alongside of her in a silver wetsuit with long fins, and I was swimming with her for 3 minutes, hanging on her back. She never once made an aggressive move. I've known her for 20 years, and she was my friend. I loved her the way that people love dogs. She was just a sweet animal. And